discuss your third lesson. It's about labor cost. Today, from this video series, I hope to discuss special things related to the labor cost and special area that especially you need to know under the business level too when we discuss about the labor cost. Then I think all of you know what's the meaning about the labor cost. When we discussed cost classification, we already discussed meaning of the labor cost. Simple meaning of the labor cost, we can say labor cost as the sum of all wages paid to employees. We can say it as the sum of all wages paid to employees as well as the cost of employee benefit. Actually, labor cost is not limited to the wages or the salary or wages that we paid to the employees. Then we can get other cost of employee benefit, including some situations, some of the organization they provide some kind of the financial benefit as well as non-financial benefits. These things also we can identify as the labor cost. And payroll taxes paid by an employer. That means some situations, some taxes or the sum of the regulatory payments they paid by employee, including EPF and ETF. EPF and ETF. These things we can identify as the labor cost. In this lesson, especially we focus on calculation of salaries and wages, bonus and overtime payment. Since we are in BL6 management accounting, under this subject, we especially focus on the calculation of these salaries and wages, then bonus and overtime payments. Then there are some controls and internal controls, some related to this salary part, that especially salary calculations, bonus and overtime. These things you can learn from your audit subject. Especially we focus on the calculation of salaries and wages, bonus and overtimes. First, we can move on to the salary calculation methods. Then we have several salary calculation methods that we can use to calculate salary or wages of employees. First simple method is time-based payment method. Simply we can calculate salary or the wages of our employee based on the time that they spend. Based on the time that they spend, then simply we can calculate their salary. That means total hours work or total hours spent, then we can multiply it by per hour rate. Special thing is most of the cases per hour rate is constant. Whatever hours work, this per hour rate is constant. That's the most important thing when we calculate salary based on the time based payment method. That's the thing. Then simply we can calculate salary under the time based payment method, then we can get total hours work and then we can multiply it by the per hour rate. This per hour rate, most of the situation can be constant, but some situation, some of the organization they adjust this time based per hour rate based on the some criteria. Then we have simple example. They say ABC PLC pay their employee salaries based on the total hours work. Following information are for employees of the ABC PLC. Then we have 4 employees A, B, C, D. Then they given work hours, then per hour rate. Then we need to calculate salaries for these employees for A, B, C and D. Separately we need to calculate salaries. Then as I mentioned, simply we can calculate salary for this employee. How? Then we have total hours work. Then we can multiply this total hours work by per hour rate. Then simply we can calculate total salary. Okay, in this case, in the first employee, then A, this employee work 100 hours. Then we can multiply it by per hour rate 15. Then 100 multiplied by 15. Then we can get total as 1500. Then for B, simply we can get total salary or the total time based payment. Then B work 90 hours. Then per hour rate is 20 for employee B. Then 90 multiplied by 20, we can get 1800. Then for C, he work 120 hours. Then per hour rate is 25. Then we can multiply 120 by 25, then we can get total salary 120 multiplied by 25, then 3000. Then D, he worked 130 hours multiplied by 15, then 130 multiplied by 15, then 1950. Like this, simply we can get total salary based on the time based payment, based on the time based payment. Simply we can get some situation, there are some one MCQ like this, they can provide some kind of information regarding the work hours, then other thing they can provide per hour rate, then simply we can get total salary of these provided total salary for these provided information based on time based payment multiplied work hours by per hour rate. This is the simple method that we can use to calculate salary. But thing is, when we calculate time salary based on the time, as I mentioned, whatever the time that employee work, then our per hour rate is constant. It is not changed. That's the we can identify this as some kind of the issue regarding the time based payment method, because whatever the that employee work, if he work 5 hours, then he his per hour rate is 100. Then what if he work 100 hours, it same per hour rate, it is a constant, it is not changed. That's the issue that we can identify regarding the time based payment. But currently also most of the organizations, they are using this time based payment based on simply based on the work hours, then they calculate total salary of their employees. This is about time based payment method. Then piecework system. Under the piecework system, simply we are calculating salary of the employee based on the number of units that they produce. We calculate salary based on the number of pieces or number of units that they produce. Based on this, we are calculating salary of our employees. This is completely different from our time based payment method. In this method, we simply calculate our salary of the employee based on the number of units that them produce. Then we have three methods actually under the piecework system. Then we have three methods that we can use to calculate salary. First simple method is straight piecework method. First simple method is straight piecework method. Under the straight piecework method, they say the basic rate per unit rate per unit remain constant irrespective number of unit produced. That means in the straight piecework method, in this situation, whatever the number of unit we produce, our per unit rate is constant. It is not changed. Simply we can get salary under the straight piecework method. How? We can multiply unit produced by per unit rate. We can multiply unit produced rate by per unit rate, then we can get salary under the straight piecework method. As I mentioned, whatever the number of unit produced, our per unit rate is constant. It is a remain. It is not changed. This is the main part that you need to know under the straight piecework method. But since irrespective number of unit produced, their rate per unit is remain, some situation this can make some kind of the issue, because for example there is two employees, okay, A and B. Let's assume there is in our organization we have two employees A and B. Then when we consider A produce 100 unit, then B produce 250 units. Then as per the organization rule, normally they pay let's assume 5 rupee per unit. 5 rupee per unit. When we consider the salary of A, simply we can get salary of A 100 multiplied by 5, 500. Whatever the number of units produced by A, without considering our per unit rate is 5. Then when we come to the B, same thing, whatever the number of unit he produced, without considering number of unit produced, our per unit rate is 5. In this situation, in like this situation, some situation B can demotivate, because when we compare to the A and B, A only produce 100, but when we come to the B produce 250, but he also get 5 rupee per unit. Like this situation, B can demotivate. Therefore, we have another method. Actually, it is also based on the not that method. Actually, our next method, we have another method, differential piecework method. Actually, using this differential piecework method, we can overcome this problem. When we come to the differential piecework method, employee basic rate of pay per unit change as the level of activity changes. Actually, our per unit rate changes as the level of activity changes. They say the rate per unit increase on additional unit produced. It doesn't provide security for guaranteed wage, but it can enhance earning by providing higher rate for higher production. Most important thing is, when we calculate our employee salary based on differential piecework method, then it's provide what? Higher rates for higher production. Like this situation, then A provide 100, B provide 250. Then if the organization use straight piecework method, then per unit rate is 5 for both A and B. But A produce only 100 units, but B produce 250 units. Like this situation, if we can use this differential piecework method, then it's providing higher rates for higher production. It provides higher rate for higher production. Therefore, this differential piecework method more suitable than straight piecework method. Then we have example. They say SLTD operates a differential piecework system and the following weekly rate have been set. They say weekly production 1 unit to 1000, they pay 2 rupee per unit. Then 1001 to 2000, 3 rupee per unit, and 2001 and above 5 rupee per unit. Like this, they change the per unit rate as per the level of activity changes. Based on the number of units, they change the per unit rate. Then they say require how much would be paid for the following employees for the week. Then we have Peter 1500 units and Murky 2400 units. Then they ask how much would be paid for following employees for the week based on the differential piecework method. Then when we come to the Peter, he produced 1500 units. Then as per the company rules, or as per the company rates that they have set, if some employee produce 1 unit to 1000 units, then they pay 2 rupee per unit. Then when we come to the Peter, he produced 1500 units. Then 1001 to 1000, organization pay 2 rupee per unit. Therefore, Peter eligible for get 2 rupee per unit for the first 1000 unit that he produced. That means he eligible to get 2000 for first 1000 unit that he produced. Then we have remaining 500 units. Then how about the per unit rate for this remaining 500 units? As per the guideline set, they say if some employee produce 1001 to 2000 unit, this employee eligible for get 3 rupee per unit. Therefore, then Peter produced 1500. Then from for the first 1000 that he produced, he eligible to get 2 rupee per unit. Then we have remaining 500. Then as per the rule set, Peter eligible to get 3 rupee per unit for this 500 unit. Then 500 multiplied by 3, then 1500. Then we can get total salary of this Peter as 2500 500, or total earning of this Peter as 3,500. Okay, then we calculate Peter's salary based on what? Differential piecework method. Then when you come to the Murky, he produced 2,400 units. He produced 2,400 units. He produced 2,400 units. Then as per the rates set, then from 1 to 1,000, this employee eligible to get 2 rupee per unit. Then for the first 1,000 unit that produced, then he eligible to get 2 rupee per unit, that means 2,000. Then we have remaining 1,400 units. Then when we come to the remaining 1,400 unit, then as per the rule set, for the second 1,000 unit that employee produced, then this employee eligible to get 3 rupee per unit. When we come to the Murky, then we have remaining 1,400. No, then when we come to the second 1,000 unit, Murky eligible to get 3 rupee per unit, that means 3 multiplied by 1,000, 3,000. Then again we have remain 400 units. Then as per the rule set, 2,001 above unit, if some employee produce 2,000 or above, then this employee eligible to get 5 rupee per unit, 5 rupee per unit. Therefore, Murky eligible to get 5 rupee per unit for this balance 400, that means 400 multiplied by 5, then 2,000. Then we can get total earnings of Murky as 7,000 based on the differential piecework method. Okay, then this is the actually most standard method and actually most suitable method if some organization need to apply piecework based salary payment method, because when we come to the straight piecework method, actually per unit rate is constant irrespective number of units produced. In this situation, like that situation, our employees can demotivate. Therefore, we can use this differential piecework method. When we come to this differential piecework method, our per hour rate change based on the what? As the level of the activity changes. As the level of the activity changes, our per hour rate change. Therefore, this method more suitable than this straight piecework method. And other thing is, we have another method called straight piecework with guaranteed minimum wage. Guaranteed minimum wage. What is that meaning? They say employee paid on number of unit produce. One is guaranteed of the minimum wages. Yeah, they say guaranteed of minimum wages, since there are occasions when production doesn't take place due to unavoidable circumstances. Example, power failure or shortage of material or machine breakdown. Like this situation, this situation, then our production does not take place. Actually, it is not matter of employee. Actually, it is this matter is from the business side or the company side. Therefore, like this situation, employee can't produce, but when we consider our salary payment method, then we pay our employee based on the number of unit produced. Like that situation, for example, let's say in some day, due to the shortage of material, any of the employee in the organization, they couldn't produce any unit. That means their production is 0. Like this situation, their daily salary is also 0. But actually, when we come to the labor rule also in Sri Lanka, like this situation, they don't accept. Therefore, if we paid based on the piecework method, definitely there should be guaranteed minimum wage. There should be guaranteed minimum wage, because like this situation, actually employee salary can be 0. Employee salary can be 0. Therefore, we need to some kind of the make guaranteed minimum wage. Then we have example, Sam is paid 10 per each unit produced. She is guaranteed minimum wage is 1,500. That means whatever paid or not, whatever produced or not, SAM minimum wage is 1,500. SAM minimum wage is how much? 1,500. Whatever paid or not, this is her minimum wage. But if her can earn more than 1,500, no issue. But if he earn less than 1,500, her minimum wage limit is 1,500. For 40 hours week in the series of 4 weeks, she produced 130, 150, 170 and 180 unit. Production overhead added at rate 5 per direct labor hour. Then required to SAM's each week salary. Then when we come to the SAM paid, 10 for each unit produced. 10 for each unit produced. Then we have 4 weeks. First, second, third and fourth week. Then she produced 130 unit, 150 unit, 170 unit and 180 unit. She can get 10 rupee per unit. Then we can calculate first week salary at 1,300. Then second week is 1,500. Then third week 1,700. Then fourth week 1,800. Then as per the company rule, her minimum wage is 1,500. When we come to the first week, since her production is only limited to 130 unit, she can only get 1,300. But her minimum wage is how much? Her minimum wage is 1,500. Her minimum wage is 1,500. Therefore, she eligible to get 1,500 rather than 1,300 because her minimum wage limit is 1,500. Then second week, she can get 1,500, no issue. In third week, 1,700. Then fourth week, 1,800, no issue. It is above the minimum wage limit. Therefore, she don't have issue with second, third and fourth week. But when you consider the first week, her salary is less than her minimum wage limit. Therefore, she eligible to get 1,500 for the first week. That is about the straight pays work with guaranteed minimum wage. Okay. This is about the pays work system. Actually, simple way that we can calculate employee salary based on the piece work system is, then simply we can get unit produced and we can multiply it by the per unit rate. But when we consider the real time situation, or what's the most practical situation is the differential piece work method, because when we apply differential piece work method, then we can motivate our employees. That's the reason that we need to use this differential piece work method. Another thing is, if we use piece work system, definitely we need to establish guaranteed minimum wage, because some situation the production doesn't take place due to some kind of the unavoidable circumstances from company side. Therefore, we need to establish guaranteed minimum wage. This about the salary calculation method. Then as I mentioned, we have main two method that we can use to calculate salary. First one, time based payment method, and second one, piece work system method. Okay, this is about the salary calculation method. Then we can move on to the overtime. Then let's see how can we calculate overtime payments and what is the meaning of overtime payments. Then simply we can if we should pay overtime if employee work more than daily or the weekly requirement. Some situation, most of the organization, they establish daily or weekly requirements. That means every employee in the organization, they should work at least 40 hours. Like this, most of the organization, they establish some kind of the minimum requirement, minimum daily or weekly requirement. If some employee work more than this requirement, daily or weekly or something more than this requirement, then this employee eligible to get overtime payment. This employee eligible to get overtime payment. Then they say if an employee works more than the basic daily requirement, actually this can be daily, weekly or monthly, okay, it's depending on the organization, the basic daily requirement, this employee may be entitled to an overtime payment. This employee may be entitled to an overtime payment. For example, we can say in ABC PLC, their minimum daily requirement is 8 hours. That means every employee in the ABC PLC should work at least 8 hours. At least 8 hours. If some employee work more than 8 hours, then this employee eligible to get overtime payment. Most important thing is, then how can we calculate overtime payments? Then second point say, for these excessive hours, employee should be paid at higher rate. Most important thing is, for these excessive hours, that means if the employee work more than daily requirement, for these excessive hours, definitely this employee should be paid at higher rate. Normally we say, when we consider the Sri Lankan regulatory requirements, it is 1.5 times more than normal rate. For example, normally if the organization pay 100 per hour, then overtime rate should be more than 1.5 times of this 100. That means simply we can multiply it by 1.5, then our overtime rate is 150. Okay, paid at higher rate. The extra amount is usually referred as this extra amount. Then extra amount is usually referred as overtime payment. That means normally we paid 100, then we additionally paid how much? Additionally we paid 50 rupee. Then we can say this 50 rupee as what? We can say this 50 rupee as overtime payment. Then we have example. Let's see how can we calculate this overtime payment. Then they say ABC PLC pay salary based on the time system. Actually, we can apply this overtime payment only organization pay salary based on the time based system. Okay, time based method. Minimum weekly. Then they say minimum weekly hours requirement is 40 hours. That means each and every employee in the ABC PLC should work at least 40 hours. If employees work more than 8 hours per day, that means their daily requirement is how much? Their requirement is 8 hours per day. They entitled for overtime payment. If some employee work more than 8 hours, then this employee eligible for overtime payment. Then they say standard rate per hour is 100. That means normally they pay 100 per hour. Then they say company pay 1.5 times more than per hour as overtime rate. They normally company pay 1.5 times more than per hour as overtime rate. That means for the excessive hours, normally they pay how much? 100 multiplied by 1.5, 150. Normally they pay 150 for overtime hours. That means their overtime payment is how much? 150 minus 100. 50 is their overtime payment. Then they say basic required basic salary. They ask basic salary. Then overtime payment and total earning of the following employees. We have 3 employees. Then they work 35 hours per week for the week. A work 35 hours, B work 48 hours, and C work 50 hours. Then they ask what? Basic salary, overtime payment, at total earning. First, let's see whether this employee entitled or not for overtime payment. As per the company requirement, their minimum weekly hours requirement is 40 hours. That means if some employee work more than 40 hours per week, then this employee entitled or eligible for overtime payment. Then when you come to the employee A, he worked 35 hours. He worked 35 hours. That means A doesn't entitle for what? A doesn't entitle for overtime payment. Then B 48 hours. That means B entitled for overtime payment, and C 50. That means more than 40 hours. Therefore, C also entitled for the overtime payment. Then we need to calculate what? Basic salary, overtime payment, and total earnings. Then for the A, let's get A, B, C. Then first we need to calculate basic salary. Then how can we get basic salary? Normally we can get basic salary by multiplied total work hours by per hour rate. Total work hours by per hour rate. Then normally what is our per hour rate? It is 100. Normal our per hour rate is 100. Then when we come to A, he worked 35 hours. Then we can multiply it by 100. Then basic salary is 3,500 for A. Basic salary is 3,500 for A. How can we get 35? 35 is work hours. Then we can multiply it by the 100. 100 is per hour rate. Then he doesn't entitle for overtime payment. Therefore, we don't need to calculate overtime payment for A. Then when we come to the B, we need to calculate basic salary. Then how can we get basic salary? Same thing, total work hours, we need to multiply it by the per hour rate. Total work hours, we need to multiply it by per hour rate. Then total work hour is 48. Then our per hour rate is how much? Per hour rate is 100. Then 48 multiplied by 100, then we can get our basic salary as 4,800. Okay. Most of these students get wrong idea about when they calculate overtime. Actually, when we calculate the overtime, if we multiplied excessive hours by this 150, it is not correct. It is wrong. Okay. Then can you remember what I said in this say? The extra amount is usually referred to as overtime payment. Extra amount. Okay. Then normally when we come to the normal situation, let's assume this organization, they don't pay. This organization, they doesn't pay any overtime payment. They doesn't have any idea to pay overtime payment. In like this situation, if B work 48 hours, simply this employee entitled to get 48 multiplied by 100, 4,800. No? Since this employee work 48 hours, definitely we need to pay for this 48 hours. Whatever their daily requirement or monthly requirement, whatever hours he work, definitely we need to pay this for this hours. Therefore, when we calculate basic salary, then we need to get it by total work hour multiplied by per hour rate. That means 48 multiplied by 100. Then we need to get overtime payment, OT. We need to get OT. Then how can we get OT? Simply we can get OT by, then we need to multiply our excessive hours. Then when we come to the B, how about our excessive hours? Our weekly requirement is 40, then B work 48 hours. That means he work 8 hours excessive. He work additional 8 hours. Then we need to multiply it by our overtime payment. Overtime payment is how much? 50. Our normal rate is 100, but for the excessive hours we paid how much? 1.5 times more than per hour. 1.5 times more than hour. Then our normal rate is 100. Then 1.5 times more than per hour is normally we paid 150. That means our overtime payment is 50. That means normally, as I mentioned, if they don't pay any overtime payment, whatever the time that employee work, we need to pay 100 per hours. No? That means our additional payment is 50. This additional payment we can consider as what? Overtime payment. Then we need to multiply this 8 by 50. Then we can get OT as how much? 40 rupee. Sorry, 400 rupee. We can get as 400 rupee our overtime payment. And total earning is summation of basic salary and OT. Then we can get total salary as how much? 5,200. 5,200. Then when we come to C, he worked 50 hours. 50 hours, that means more than 40 hours. Therefore, this employee is also entitled for overtime payment. Then we need to get basic salary. We need to get basic salary. As I mentioned, we need to multiply total work hours 50 by per hour rate 100. That means basic salary is how much? 5,000. Then we need to get OT, overtime payment. Then how can we get overtime payment? We need to get excessive hours. How about excessive hours of C? Weekly requirement is 40. Then he work 50 hours. Then our excessive hour is 10. We need to multiply this 10 by 50. 50 is our OT payment, our excess or the additional amount that we pay. Then we can get OT as 500. Then we can get OT as 500. Then our total earning is how much? Total earning is summation of basic salary and OT. We can get total earning as 5,500. Then like this, we can calculate basic salary, overtime payment and total earning for these A, B and C. Okay, most important thing is that you need to remember when we calculate OT, we need to get what? This excessive amount that we pay. This excessive amount that we pay, okay, not 150, 150, we can't get 150, okay, if we multiplied 8 by 150, it's wrong, it's not correct. We need to get that additional amount we pay. Normally we pay 100 per hour, but when we come to these excessive hours, we pay 1.5 times more than per hour, no? That means 150. Whatever the, if we don't consider about the overtime payment, we need to pay definitely 100, no? In this situation, since we decided to pay overtime, then we paid 150. That means we pay additional 50. Then when we calculate this OT, only we need to consider about this additional 50. This about overtime payment. Then some situation there can be some MCQ with some given information regarding the overtime payment, and then required to calculate overtime payment. Then we can move on to the another most important part of your this lesson. It's about the bonus payment. Okay, then let's see how can we calculate bonus payment and what is the meaning of the bonus payment. Before going on to the theoretical explanation, I get some simple example to explain what's the meaning of bonus payment and what is the purpose of the bonus payment. Let's assume there are two employees, employee A and B. Both of these employees, they get their salary based on the time. Based on the time. Let's assume one day A produce 100 units, B produce 300 units. A produce 100 units and B produce 300 units. Then A spent 8 hours for this production purpose, and B also is spent 8 hours for this production process. Simply both A and B, they spend 8 hours. But when we consider about their output, A produce 100 unit, but B produce more than 3 times of A. B produce 300 units. But when we consider about their salary, as I mentioned, they get their salary based on the time. Let's assume both of A and B, their per hour rate is 200. Let's assume their per hour rate is 200. Then since they get their salary based on the time base, then simply we can get their salary. For A, he spent 8 hours, he worked 8 hours, then 8 hours multiplied by 200, then we can calculate his salary as 1600. Then when we come to B, he also worked 8 hours, then he also get 200 per hour, then that means his daily salary is also 1600. But when we consider about their outputs, A only produce 100, but B produce 300 units. Like this situation, B can think, what the hell, I produce 300 unit, I also get 1600, but A, he only produce 1000 unit, he also get 1600 per day. Like this situation, B can demotivate and he also try to work like this, like A. That means like inefficient worker, because definitely B can demotivate, because when we consider about the output, definitely B has more efficient working ability. That is he could produce 300 units. Like this situation, we need to encourage employee like B. That's why we introduce bonus payment. That's why we introduce bonus payment. Simply they say bonus schemes were introduced to compensate workers paid under time-based system. Actually, these bonus payments are related with time-based payment system for their inability to increase earning by working more efficiently. Like this situation, can B increase his earning? No. Based on the efficiency, no. Whatever the number of units he produced, he paid based on the time. Like this situation, to compensate like these workers, we introduce what? Bonus payment. Actually, like this situation, we pay bonus based on the time saving. Time that, simply we can say time that saved by that employee. So, time that saved by that employee. Okay. This is the another important that you need to keep in your mind when we calculate bonus payment. We calculate bonus payment based on the time saving. When we consider this situation, A produced this 100 units using 8 hours, but when we consider B, he produced this 300 units using the 8 hours. Definitely B, he saved some time for the organization. Like this situation, then we can calculate actually time saving or the save time by that employee. Then based on that, we can calculate our bonus payment. Then we have example. Using the example, then I explain then how can we calculate time saving, and based on that, then how can we calculate the bonus payment. Then they say XYZ PLC is an engineering company which is undertaking various jobs of client. Mr. Fernando is an engineer, work for XYZ PLC, and he is paid 1300 per hour. He is paid 1300 per hour. Each job he does has time allowance and he is paid 60% of any time he saves each work each week as a bonus paid at his hourly rate. Normally he has a time allowance, that means he has a normally time allowance and he paid 60% of time he saves each week as a bonus paid at his hourly rate. Then say, during last week Mr. Fernando had worked 40 hours and completed his jobs having a total time allowed 48 hours. That means during last week Mr. Fernando had worked for 40 hours and completed jobs having a total time allowed. That means when we consider about the time allocated for this task is 48 hours. But Mr. Fernando completed this task within 40 hours. That means Mr. Fernando saved 8 hours. Mr. Fernando saved 8 hours. Then based on these 8 hours, then we can pay bonus. Then they ask calculate his earning for last week. Calculate his earning for last week. Then normally we can calculate his basic salary. First we need to calculate his basic salary. Then how can we calculate basic salary? Since he paid based on the time, he worked 40 hours. Then work hour is 40. Then we need to multiply it by, normally he get 1300 per hour. 1300 per hour. Then we can get his basic salary. Then we can get his basic salary as 40 multiplied by 1300, then 52,000. 52,000. Then we need to calculate bonus payment. We need to calculate bonus payment. As I mentioned, we need to calculate bonus payment based on the time saved. Based on the time saved. Then as per this information, the allocated time for this task is 48 hours, but Mr. Fernando only used 40 hours. That means he saved 8 hours for the organization. Therefore, his saved hours is 8 hours. Then we need to multiply it by, in this case they say, and he is paid 60% of any time he saves each week as a bonus paid. 60% of any time. That means he get 60% from 1300 as a bonus payment per hour. Bonus payment per hour for the time he saved. For the time he saved. That means we need to get 60% from this 1300. Then we can calculate 1300 to 60%, then 780. Then we need to multiply it 8 hours by 780. Then we can get total bonus payment as 6,240. Then we can get his total earning as 58,240. 58,240. Okay, this is actually a simple example. Then next we have more comprehensive example. Then I will explain then how can we get this saved hours. Okay, most important thing is in this case simply we have basic information to identify the saved hours. Okay, then they say allocated time is 48 hours and he only spent 40 hours. Then simply we can identify 8 hours as our saved hours. No. But when we come to our exam example or when we consider the normal situation, then we need to identify the saved hours. Then we have another 2 examples. Then using these 2 examples, I will explain then how can we identify this saved hour. Okay, this is a simple example. Then I just want to show how can we get bonus payment. Simply we can get bonus payment, multiply these saved hours. This is the saved hours. Then we can multiply these saved hours by bonus payment. This bonus payment is dependent on the organization criteria. In this case, they say 60%. Okay, that means 60% from this 1300. Then let's move on to more comprehensive example. Then we have this example. Then using this example, I will explain then how can we get these saved hours. How can we get these saved hours? They say the following information is extracted from Dean Private Limited. Normal working hours per day is 8 hours. That means normally they work 8 hours per day. Then basic rate of pay per hour is 300. Then their basic rate is 300. Then they say standard time allowed to produce 1 unit. Then they provide what? Standard time allowed to produce 1 unit is 2.5 or the 2.5 minutes. They say 2.5 minutes. That means 2 minutes and 50 seconds or 2 minutes and 30 seconds. No. Then 2.5 minutes. No. Let's get that like that. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. That means for the purpose of production 1 unit, they allow 2.5 minutes. Then bonus, 8% of the time saved at basic rate. Normally they pay bonus. How much? How they pay? 80% of the time saved. That means they pay time saved, 80% from this time saved at basic rate. Then they say calculate the earning per day of the worker if he makes 250 units per day. Calculate the earning per day of worker if he makes 250 units per day. That means if some workers, then he makes 250 units per day, they asked to calculate what? They asked to calculate bonus. Let's assume, since they said normal working hours per day, then let's assume this employee work only 8 hours. Okay, let's assume he didn't work more than 8 hours. Let's assume, okay, based on this information, normal working hours per day is 8 hours. That means he work 8 hours. Then using these 8 hours, he produced how many units? He produced 252 units. That's the story behind this. Okay, that's the story behind this. As per the information that we can get, he spent or he worked 8 hours, and using these 8 hours he produced 250 units. Then first since we need to calculate bonus payment, first we need to identify saved time by this employee, saved time by this worker. For that purpose, first we need to identify what is the time actually that employee is spent for this 252 units. Actually, as per the time allocation, they say standard time allowed for this produce is 1 unit is 2.5 minutes. No. Then let's see how many time that employee should allocate for produce this 250 unit. First we need to calculate total minutes. Let's get total minutes. That need to produce these 250 units. First we need to get actual time that we need to utilize to produce this 250 units. Okay, let's see that. Then as per the given information, we need to allocate 2.5 minute per unit. Therefore, we can get total time that we need to produce this 250 unit is 630 minutes. Then let's convert it to the hours. Then we can divide it by 60. Then total hours is 10.5 hours. That mean this worker completed 10.5 hours allocated time, only spent 8 hours. This worker completed 10.5 hours allocated work, only spent 8 hours. actually then we can see he saved 2.5 hours for organization. That means actually if we produce this 250 unit based on the allocated time, based on the standard allocated time, we need to incur 10.5 hours. We need to incur 10.5 hours. But this employee only utilized 8 hours for this purpose. That means he saved 2.5 hours for organization. He saved 2.5 hours for organization, and then based on that we can calculate what? We can calculate bonus payment. Then they say calculate the total earning. No, that means first we need to calculate what? First we need to calculate basic salary. Then how can we get basic salary? Total hours work 8 hours. We need to multiply it by basic rate per hour is 300. Then 8 multiplied by 300, 2400 is our basic salary. This our basic salary is how much? 2400. Then we need to calculate bonus payment. Then we have calculated time save. It is 2.5 hours. No, I hope you realize where that we get this time saved. First we need to identify the total standard time allocation for this 252 units. Then as per the information, the standard time allocated for produce 1 unit is 2.5 minutes. If we multiply it by 250 units, we need 630 minutes. Then we can convert it to the hours. We need 10.5 hours. But this employee only spent 8 hours to produce this 250 units. That means he saved 2.5 hours. Then our save time is 2.5 hours. But as per the company policy, they say 8% of the time saved at basic rate. That means we need to get 8% from this time saved, and we need to multiply it by standard basic rate is 300. We need to multiply it by the standard basic rate is 300. Then 2.5 multiplied by 80%, that means 2 hours. Again we need to multiply it by 3. That means his bonus payment is 600. Then we can get total earnings of this employee as 2600. Total earning for this employee as 2600. Okay. Main thing is first you need to identify time save. For that purpose, first we need to identify, in this case he makes 250 units per day. No, 250 units per day. Therefore, first we need to identify standard time allocation for this 250 units. Then we can get 250 units multiplied by, they say per unit they allocated 2.5 minutes. Then we can multiply it by 2.5. Then we get 630 minutes. That means 10.5 hours. But they say only this employee worked 8 hours. That means he completed 10.5 hours allocated tasks within 8 hours. That means he saved 2.5 hours. Then we can get it as a time save. Then we need to multiply it by 8% because 80%, they say 80% of the time saved. Then we can multiply it by the basic rate. Then we can get our bonus payment. Okay. This is the way that we can calculate what? This is the way that we can calculate bonus payment. Then we have another example. It's a more comprehensive one. Then they say the employees of Win Private Limited are getting the basic wages based on the working hours. In addition to this, a bonus is paid on the saved time. Bonus is paid on the saved time based on the number of units produced. Normally they paid bonus is paid on the saved time. The following information of an employee is provided. Normal working hours per week. They say 8 hours per day, 5 working days. That means 40 hours per week. Then basic wage rate per hour is 275. Standard time allocated for 1 unit is 12 minutes. They allowed 12 minutes per 1 unit. Then bonus 120% of the saved time at basic wage rate. 120% at the saved time at basic wage rate. Number of units produced by the employee during the last week is 265 units. Based on the above information, you are required to calculate the total earnings of the employee for the last week. They asked to calculate total earnings of the employee for the last week. For that purpose, first we need to calculate what? First need to calculate standard time allocation for this 265 unit. First we need to calculate standard time allocation for this standard time allocation for this 265 unit. As per the information, standard time allowed for 1 unit is 12 minutes. Therefore, we can multiply this 265 by 12 minutes. Then we can get total minutes. 265 multiplied by 12, 3,180. 3,180. This is standard time allocation. Standard time allocation 3,108 minute. Okay, this is about minute. Then we need to convert it to the hours. Then we can divide it by 60. Then total hours is 53 hours. Total hours is 53 hours. The standard time allocation is 53 hours. But when we consider the given information, then normal working hours per week is 40 hours. That means this employee work only 40 hours. But during these 40 hours, he did 53 hours allocated work. Normally, total allocated time for this 265 unit is 53 hours, but this employee completed it within 40 hours. That means our total time saved is 53 hours minus 40 hours. That means 13 hours. 13 hours. This employee saved 13 hours for the organization. Then we can calculate bonus based on this 13 hours. Then they ask calculate the total earning of the employee for the last week. First we need to calculate what? First we need to calculate basic salary. First we need to get basic salary. Then how can we get? Our total work hour is 40 hours. Then our standard rate per hour is 275. Then 40 multiplied by 275. Then our basic salary is 11,000. Then we need to calculate bonus payment. First we need to get our saved hours, 13 hours. As per the information, they say bonus they paid based on the 120% of the saved time at basic rate. Therefore, we need to multiply this by 120%, and again we need to multiply it by the standard rate is 275. Then 13 hours multiplied by 120 times. Then again we need to multiply it by 275. Then we can get 4,290 as his bonus payment. Then total earning is 15,290. Total earning is 15,290. Then like this we can calculate total earning for this employee. Most important thing is identify of this saved hours. Then for that purpose, first we need to identify as per the information he produced 265 units. Therefore, we need to first identify how about actual time allocation for this 265 unit as per the information. Then it is a 53 hours, but actually this employee work only 40 hours for this week. Therefore, he saved 30 hours for organization. Then based on that we can calculate total earning for this employee like this. Okay, this is about bonus payment. This is about bonus payment. Actually, most important thing is under this bonus payment you need to have ability to identify the saved hours. Then I showed then way that you can identify the saved time. Then based on that simply you can identify the saved time, and based on that you can make a calculation, and with that we can complete your labor cost related theory and these most important part.